Right. So, hi, everyone. Welcome back to Meet the Authors. We're here with Josephine Strand. We're going to discuss her new book, Misty Dreams. In the meantime, we're going to kick it off with a little bit of a chat here for about 5 minutes, and then we'll get into some of the motivations and stuff that Josephine has. Hi, Josephine.
Hi. Hi. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah,
Sure,
welcome.
it's great to have you.
Exciting.
How's the weather out there in New York?
It's partly cloudy. Yesterday was almost like it was the anniversary actually of the Sandy superstorm.
Right. Yeah.
And it's sort of to celebrate, we had a downpour. It was something crazy. So,
yeah. Were you?
Yeah, but it's nice today.
Were you around for Sandy? Were you in New
I
York?
was.
Oh,
yes,
wow.
Yes. Fortunately, we just had a few down trees in our neighborhood, but we're not that close to the water. But
Okay.
the people that were, there was a lot of damage.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Halloween's around the corner. Either of you, I've got my decorations. So I've got a big blow up Nightmare Before Christmas thing out front, and a scary ghost hanging from a tree that just like, I don't know. It terrifies me at night when I go outside. But.
You're scared of your own decoration.
Yeah.
Some people go overboard. It's crazy.
Yeah.
We've got one guy in our neighborhood, and I don't know where he keeps all his stuff, because he lives in kind of like a single story ranch house. But every single holiday, his house is decked out and it looks like the Halloween store. Right. He's got giant blow up things. He's got, like, if you go up to his house, there's things that jump out at you.
Oh,
right?
nice.
And I'm like, where do you put all this stuff, man? Because he got a little garage, and for Thanksgiving, for Christmas, for 4th of July, everybody knows, like, that's the house in Auburn. That's like super decorated for everything.
I wonder if they rent them, because where do they put all that stuff?
Yeah, that's it. Maybe they do rent them. Yeah. Or he's got, you know what? If they don't rent them, that's a fantastic idea. Renting decorations.
There you go.
That's my entrepreneurial streak.
There you go.
Awesome. Hey, Helen. Thanks for joining. Helen is the author of Floodtide and various other science fiction works.
Thank you. Great to see you all again.
Hi.
Great. We were just talking about Halloween decorations.
Because the tumble dryer's on and it's a bit noisy. So
okay.
Let me just door.
Okay. So I read Misty Dreams.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
yes. I don't normally read for authors that are coming to this necessarily. Not right, because I've got such a backlog of works of books that I want to read that I can't really. I'm having a hard time catching up. I'll be honest. But the reason I read yours, what's that?
No, I'm in the same sort of situation where I'm trying to help, other indie authors by reading their books and reviewing them. Mm-hmm. And I have a huge backlog.
Yeah.
Me too.
But I did read Misty Dreams. One of the reasons is I'm thinking about the romance tropes and trying to figure out how that works. And I'm also working on like a sci-fi kind of romance thing that's going to be a little bit weird for me because I don't normally write that stuff. So I wanted to see how.
I'll be your consultant. Don't worry.
There you go. I will have questions for sure. But I want to get into like some of your inspiration. What is it that, like, how did you end up? Starting with writing romance novels? How did that inspiration strike you?
It comes from just inventing stories. I've been inventing stories basically since I was a child, and obviously I started with I was a big reader. I started with fairy tales, and then I went on to more like teen stuff with the ballet theme. I was enamored with the ballet theme, also with the including the romance, obviously. And then I don't know, it kind of it stuck with me from childhood. I think that with romance, for me, it's like talking about other, real people who face everyday problems, fall in love, face drama. It's just, about real people. I've never been into science fiction, sorry guys, or fantasy or anything like that. So I haven't my feet planted on the ground.
That does blow my mind. I feel like everybody should be into sci-fi, but I understand that I'm an anomaly. Not everybody's like that. So cool. Keep going.
You can actually have science fiction as part of romance as part of a science fiction as well.
Oh, of course. I mean, there's good romances in all kinds of science fiction books and fantasy
yes,
books.
Well, definitely, yes. No, I like to be more realistic.
And it comes through in your writing. A lot of your descriptions, what I like the most, or not the most, but one of the things that really strikes me is the pictures that you paint about, like when these different scenarios are happening. The beach, the opening is like this oppressive heat, and the way that you write about it, it's like you can actually kind of feel the heat, and it takes me back to places that I've been where I'm like, I can barely breathe. I grew up in Texas, so we were talking about like oppressive heat. That's where my mind goes. I'm like, I can't breathe anymore. Somebody. So that's pretty interesting. And the real people thing that you talk about. I mean, I think that all of us are trying to achieve that. How do you bring in your characters? Like, are these characters people from your life that you're kind of write into your books, or do you make them up like from scratch?
I make them up from scratch. But obviously this is my one and only book so far.
Yeah.
But it was a long process. But maybe I should tell you a little bit of how this came about.
Just do. Yeah.
It was obviously, I'm not a spring chicken anymore, and I just recently published this book. But writing to me has been mostly like a hobby. So, I never really thought I'd be good enough to publish anything. So I all through my childhood, my teens, my 20s, I was just writing and writing and writing just for the fun of it. And actually, I was, I don't know if I think I told Chuck, but I lived in South Africa for a good number of years, from when I was from when I was 7 to my late teens. So I lived there most of my formative years. So it was. Then we went back to Italy, and so when I was back in my hometown, it was hard for me to find books to read in English. There was no Amazon at the time. There was, maybe just one bookstore in the entire town. And so I started reading whatever I could get my hands on, obviously in Italian. And I started writing in Italian because that came easier to me. And in my 20s, I wrote an entire series of novels based in the United States. I was fascinated with the United States and everything American, not knowing that I would end up there eventually one day. So they were based in a vacation resort in the South. And then it sort of, I must have been on my 12th book of the series when I realized I had a set of characters that I really liked and that I wanted them to have their own standalone novel. And so I got working on that. But still, I wasn't thinking of publishing. To me, it was like an unattainable dream because, back then there was no self-publishing. So I wrote and wrote, and then I moved to the United States, and of course Welcome. I wanted to. The first draft was in Italian, so I wanted to translate it into English, and that was a long learning process because English was never my first language. And so it took a while. And then by that time, I had a demanding job. I had a daughter to raise and all this real life stuff. And I didn't have much room in my life for writing. And then one day I just happened to be at a book signing, a Nora Roberts book signing. Anybody know Nora Roberts?
Oh yeah, I know who Nora Roberts is.
Yep.
So
she was on here last week.
I mentioned to her that I wanted to be a published author, but I didn't have the time to write. And she gave me this stern look and she said, "Find the time." So it was kind of it shook me up. It was kind of a wake-up call, if you will. And then, sure enough, I started looking for that time, for the little scraps of time. And I managed to put something together. But by the time I finished, I had this monstrous tome, 360,000 words, something like that. Wow. I had never bothered to research the market, to see what the requirements were to publish a book, nothing. So at that point, I realized I was in trouble if I really wanted to publish. So I looked for an editor, and she helped me tremendously with actually narrowing it down to the current 88,000. So it was a rewrite. It was one rewrite after another because from Italian to English, and then to narrow it down, obviously the plot changes because you can never get all the facts in 88,000 words from 360,000.
Right.
So that was basically how it came about. But the inspiration for these characters came from that early series of novels, and it had, I can't really say what the actual inspiration was for the plot because then I would be giving it away.
Sure.
But
so I have a question based on why. So you wrote it originally in Italian, 365,000 words. And then you translated it basically into English. Yeah. Why English? Was it to take advantage of the market? Were you researching the market at that time? And was that an inspiration?
Yes, that was when the idea of publishing was starting to form in my head, and I didn't think it was something that I could. I published in Italy. I just didn't. It didn't seem practical. So besides, by that time I was starting to think in English. It was really this. My whole life, self-confidence in the language had been my biggest hurdle.
Oh, I see.
So because even going to South Africa, I had to learn English. Coming back, I had to perfect my Italian. I was like, my poor brain.
But you come to America and have to relearn American English.
Yes.
English isn't an easy language to learn.
I knew English, but it's different when you're actually, from an English-speaking background.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In fact, I wasn't confident enough in my vocabulary. As a matter of fact, there were a couple of words here and there where my editor would say, "What does this mean?" And I had written the word siren instead of mermaid, which in Italian is sirena. So it's just. Okay. But I mean, it does. I think there is also siren also means mermaid, except it's more like the ancient style of
version.
Yeah.
Probably that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, they sing to you
things like that. Yeah.
Cool.
I'm very interested to think how you could possibly concertina down 300 and something thousand words to 88. I do quite a lot of editing.
Well, this is a Misty Dreams is a dual timeline novel, and
a lot of it is simplifying what is there, you know, making it simple so that it's not going to confuse the reader.
So Josephine, how do you approach
challenge.
it?
I'm sorry?
So how did you approach that challenge?
I give a lot of credit to my editor for infusing this a new level of confidence in me, because I thought it was really something I would have never been able to do. Because she said to me, when she read the first draft, she said to me, Josephine, you have to, if you really want to publish this book, you really have to narrow it down. But when she initially said that, I thought she meant maybe, you know, shave off 50,000 words, you know, then, so it was, which is how I approached it in the beginning. And then after she would read it the second time, she would say, well, Josephine, we need to, you know, we can shave it down a little bit more. And then, you know, this went on for quite a few years, to tell you honestly. And then, you know, it's a being that it's a dual timeline story, I had to cut down a lot on the earlier part of the story. So, you know, it did change the plot a little bit, but not as much, because most of the story is the later part, let's say the present time.
Oh,
so it didn't change much in that sense. So, you know, that's where most of the changes came in the first part of the story. But it was a challenge.
I bet, yeah.
A lot of, and good practice,
No doubt. Now, I find that when I'm writing, I write a lot. There's a lot of stuff that I write that doesn't go into the novel, because I'm writing. You have to know your characters, so you write all that stuff to just understand them. So it sounds like you kind of did all of that in this 365,000, and then you pared that back away to get down to the core story that you wanted to tell.
Yes, but it was painful to do those cuts, to make those cuts. It was really painful. You really, you know, it's like you're cutting off your arm, and you know, it's, oh no, I had to do away with a couple of characters too.
Oh, that's the worst.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And you think, you know, oh, you've written this great chapter where you have all this interaction, and then all of a sudden you have to, you know, chop it off. It hurts.
Yeah, that it reminds me of something that Stephen King said. And he says you have to kill your babies when you're writing, because you have to get rid of all
your darlings,
stuff.
I think.
Yeah, murder. Yeah.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about genres. So yours is clearly romance, but I think if you look at, you study the market, so you know, if you look at romance, you've got like the sweet romance, you've got I don't even remember. There's the urban romance. There's so many like
the bodice rippers, right?
Historical romance.
Historical romance is one.
Yeah.
So I had a hard time positioning you in there. What do you think? Where does that?
And you're absolutely right. It is hard because it's classified as a sweet contemporary romance, but at the same time,
it's a double
sweet. I'm sorry.
But it's a double time level story as well. That's really, really interesting.
There's a 17-year gap between the times. So it really, you know, can be classified as historical. So it's just like to outline an event, particular event. So about the genre, I've had a hard time. I still have a hard time finding my niche of readers, because people, you know, tend to use the term clean, which really sounds awful, but mine can be classified as clean. Closed doors. It's just that, you know, some people think that if you classify it as clean, it's automatically inspirational. You know, they think it's an inspirational novel. So it's really hard to. There's like a blurry line between sweet and clean. but it's, you just have to rely on your reviews to, so for people to understand what it's about, what style has it been written, if there's explicit content, that sort of thing. So I'm getting there little by little.
So are you writing more? Or so you said this was good.
I'm writing. Real life has gotten in the way a lot this past month, so I'm a little behind on that. But I have 2 projects going on. One, because initially Misty Dreams wasn't intended to be the first of a series, and I'll explain the reason why in a little bit. It's just, but a lot of my readers have expressed the wish to know more about my characters and later in life. So I've been I did start a second novel based in St. Isabel Island, and at the same time I had an idea for a standalone novel which I started as well. So we'll see which one makes it to the finish line first. We'll see. It's really it's, you have to excuse me, you're guided by inspiration and by your characters mostly. So the characters that speak to me the most are the ones that are going to eventually, come first.
Sure.
And then, going back to the genre, I wanted to write a non-formulaic contemporary novel because as a big reader, I am tired of reading the same old tropes over and over again. Enemies to lovers, friends to lovers, all that sort of thing. It's like watching the Hallmark Channel, right? That's what romance lovers are gonna hate me. I hate the Hallmark Channel. Can I say that? I hate the Hallmark Channel.
You can say that
as much as you want.
My daughter can understand why, but I do. Because those movies are the same thing over and over again. They are what I call cookie cutter stories.
Right.
And they basically blend, the more you watch, the more they blend into each other. And they're forgettable. So I wanted to write something that was, out of the, let's say that, so
a bit of a standout.
Yeah.
I would say like you said forgettable, which is a good description, but another, the way I always see them as like interchangeable, right? You don't care about this character in this story because it's the same character in this story, right? Oh, I hate Christmas. Oh, but I moved to the country and I met my high school sweetheart. Now we love Christmas or whatever. Right?
I saw that movie like that last week.
Right. I saw it 8 times with 9 different actors. So
that's exactly it.
Yep, I get what you're saying.
All right. Well, so we've been talking for a little while. So let's go ahead and open it up and let just into a more casual conversation. I definitely have a few more questions about the romance genres, but I'm not the only one here. So,
well, and the romance thing is great because that's what I like. I write like science fiction kind of horror stuff, and the problem I have is the interpersonal actions between like people who actually like each other. Right, the enemies are fine, right? I can write them fighting and bantering and everything, but when like I've got a guy and a girl and they're like, falling in love, I'm like, how the hell does this work? I don't understand. Right? So that's where my roadblocks always are, and I think that's great. I think that's a very hard genre to write in, and you seem to be doing really well. I haven't read your book because I'm trying to get through Dune, and it's not easy.
Wait, about you're reading it? You're reading
I'm reading it, and it's like you. It's 200,000 words long, so that's a big slog. So I haven't had time
to. Which one is 200,000 words long? Mine?
No, Dune.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So that's I can't. I usually read 2 or 3 things at a time, but when I'm reading Dune, I'm like I can't. It's such a commitment.
Yeah. That's why I love audiobooks, because
yeah.
I can listen to them, morning till night, just doing other stuff.
Yeah.
I love audio. In fact, I'm turning Misty Dreams into an audiobook pretty soon, hopefully by Christmas.
Well, let me know if you want me to read it for you. I'll read it in my voice.
Thank you. I already hired someone. Maybe the next one.
Right.
As a matter of fact, the narrator that has agreed to work with me gave me some great feedback about which is exactly what I had hoped to inspire in people who read my book. It's the emotions that count. It's not so much the action. As long as the reader can feel those emotions. Like, so I'm answering your question, Justin, that you don't really need, the dialogue to express the feelings between the two. You just need the body language and the tension, that sort of thing. So, he pointed out that that's exactly what my story does, which is helpful in not making it the usual cookie cutter type of story.
Yeah. It's that show not tell, right? The body language and how they move.
Exactly.
And Excellent. I've been looking at your reviews. You've got a lot of good reviews over here on Goodreads, so it looks like you've done pretty well. Everybody likes it. That's good. 4 and 5 stars.
And Goodreads, they'll let you know if they don't like it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, one.
Yeah.
Yes. I think 1 or 2 4-stars. Yeah. We haven't. I was interested in asking Helen. Can I ask you a question, Helen?
Yeah, of course.
You said you write science fiction, right?
Yes.
Is there some romance infused in that, or is it just plain science?
And it's kind of first contact quite often, and I'm very much I don't mind putting characters from one planet and one species together with another character from another species, and that I just kind of think, it just happens all the time here, so why not out in space?
It's very Star Trekky.
Yeah, very Star Trekky.
Yeah.
That program has had a huge influence on my outlook and everything. And I was like 15 when that came on the telly, and my friend said to me on the coach on the way home from school, because we had to go out of the county for our school, and complicated reasons. And she said, oh, Star Trek's on tonight. I said, oh, what's that? And she said, oh, it's Star Trek. It's brilliant, and it's got all these characters and everything. And I said, oh, I'll watch that. And I was hooked straight away. I thought it was really good. But yeah, I just think, that is, I think, what would happen. Yeah, and I think actually it's kind of romantic that sort of thing does happen.
Yes,
you have to so much to overcome, right? Yeah. I think that once you identify, once you recognize the sentience, this is just me. Once you recognize the sentience of somebody or something, then, and if you can make a connection, then that's great. You know what? Like Octavia Butler does kind of something similar in her Xenogenesis series. I don't know if you read that, Helen, or Justin.
Sorry, who was it again?
Oh, Octavia Butler.
Oh, right. I haven't read any of hers yet, but she's on my list when I finally get some time to do some reading.
She really delved into
she's local.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
is
she's
she?
in Seattle. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
Let's get her on.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, being an indie author and reading other indie books has also had introduced me to new genres.
Yes.
Which I had never read a fantasy book or a science fiction book prior to this. And it's interesting. It's very interesting. It's like, they're very attention grabbing. I mean, I sometimes if I'm listening to an audiobook like that, I'll sort of freeze in the act of doing something because I'm so, caught in that scene.
In the moment.
Yeah.
What do you like to read, Josephine? Do you read mostly romance or like within
I
your genre?
I read mostly romance, but
Okay.
it still remains my favorite. But I like I like anything that will have romance in it, even if it's a fantasy, book, I will read.
Yeah.
And I've also I used to, there was a time when I was always reading historical romance for some reason, a period of a number of years. And then I sort of got tired of that, but now I'm starting again. And I love that too.
God, I used to enjoy Georgette Heyer very much.
Ah, she was one of my favorites back in the day.
Yeah. I read that in my teens, and my favorite ever was The Black Moth.
Yeah, the audio kind of went off
that one, but really good. Yeah, really good.
Freezing up a bit, Helen.
Yeah, I know. I got kicked out a few minutes.
So, well, she said Black Moth. Have you read that one?
Which one?
Black Moth by
no.
The author.
I don't recall any of the books that I read. I just remember reading her, but that was a long time ago. So I don't.
It's really good because the character, the main character, is a bit of a roue, and he becomes a real cropper with one of the characters. Yeah, there's two sort of main male protagonists, and a female protagonist, and it's a classic sort of romantic triangle. But the roue, the older guy who has got designs that he shouldn't be having on this young girl, he really comes a cropper, but he's curiously sympathetic at the same time.
Sounds scandalous.
Yeah.
Sounds like a little leader.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh, so one of the things that I like is I've seen a lot more. Oh, go ahead. I'm talking over you. Please continue.
I think. Go ahead, Chuck.
All right. So one of the things that I've noticed is that a lot of that romance is bleeding over into a lot of other genres. So now, whereas you had just like your strict romance categories, and now you've got the romance, like there is actually a romance sci-fi category now on at least I think in Amazon or something. I don't know where I saw it. One of the various author publishing sites. So which I find really interesting. I wouldn't have guessed that trend, but what do you guys think? Have you noticed that? Maybe not. Maybe it's just
Helen froze up again.
Oh no.
That's why I like the Star Wars movies, because it contains some romance.
Yeah,
Star Wars.
Of course.
Star Wars, yes. I was really enamored with that for a while.
So, self-publishing is a really great idea if you've got something that doesn't fit neatly into one category or another. And I think that's the thing that I felt with my stuff. I also felt that I didn't want to be subject to somebody else's deadlines because my health's not that great. So I wouldn't like to let people down and say, well, yes, I will deliver so many chapters by blah, 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 and then not be able to do it. So being able to do what I, self-published.
Yeah.
How did you find your way to, sorry, Helen.
Deal with all that and work around it. No, go on.
Josephine, how did you find your way to the self-published thing? Did you go through Amazon, or how did you
yes, well, originally, obviously I would have liked to go the traditional way, But as a matter of fact, I sent out about 50 queries to agents and publishers, and a lot of them came back with some great feedback, like, we love the quality of your work, but it's not, we're not a good fit for your book right now. It's not the other way around. So after a while, I just, I said, look, I'm not getting any younger, and let me just do it. And I looked into, different options, and in the end, I decided, that Amazon was the best way to go for me, and that's what I did.
And that was pretty. I think, Chuck, that's what you did too, right?
Oh yeah.
That's pretty easy path there, I guess, to do it that way.
Well, it's also access to the market. Amazon has like 80% of the United States market. So if you want to sell in the US, you pretty much have to go with Amazon.
Yeah, but I hate Amazon.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I'm not a big fan either.
The books printed by them because I couldn't make the numbers work. I thought I think they're a greedy company, honestly. But I get my books printed by short run publishers. Just get what I need at any particular time, top up later.
Yeah, that's one of the things is for print. Ingram Spark I've heard a lot of really good things about Ingram Spark. And they give you an ISBN that you can use in multiple places. Well, you have to pay for it.
Is that who did this one, Chuck?
No, I did that one. Oh, thanks. I did that one with that was Amazon. Although if I had it to do over in my next series, is I'm going to do the hardcover or the print version using Ingram Spark instead.
Okay.
Which is what I did.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's smart. Nice. So you figured it out way before me.
Really?
I published the paperback version both with Amazon and Ingram Spark. But I have to say I haven't seen many results with Ingram Spark so far.
No, that's one of the things that I've heard about print markets. I follow a few like author podcasts and print markets, and it just takes a little longer to get going. So like a couple of years from now, you'll probably start getting more sales on the print side, and the same with the global market. It's kind of the same way.
See, that's why I haven't finished my book yet, because I'm waiting for all of you guys to go through all the steps and be like, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And then when it's completely perfect and there's no problems, then I'll publish my book.
Sounds suspect to me, Justin.
No way.
That's
got to open something for your.
Yeah, this.
Oh, nice.
Give me I apologize for the interruption.
Ask her she brought enough for everybody.
I did, but by the time they get to you, they may be a little moldy. So I guess you haven't seen, are you on Kobo as well?
No.
Josephine? No.
No.
Okay. All right. So are you doing the KDP? Are you doing KDP Unlimited then?
Yes. Yes, okay. That's correct. Hi there.
This is my son. This is hi. Wave at the
camera.
Hiya.
There you go. All right. Now you've done enough. Now let's go sit down with yourself. Okay.
I've only had my cat annoying me, so you've probably seen it. Dump him on the ground.
Okay. No pets. No kids.
No kids. Are you married, Josephine?
Yes, I have a daughter and 2 grandchildren.
Oh, excellent. You don't live in the city, right? You don't live in New York City. You live in New York somewhere. In
New York City, yes.
Oh, you do live in the city. Oh, okay.
Yes, not in Manhattan though.
Oh, okay.
In the boroughs.
Yeah, I'm from the East Coast too. I live in Seattle now, but I used to live in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So crazy stuff.
Yeah. I'm in Portland right now.
Portland, yeah.
Are you both in Seattle?
I was. And, that's where I met Justin. Actually, is in Seattle. We're part of a readers group in Seattle, but I'm in Portland now.
Yeah, I'm still in Seattle for now, until I move to Italy, which I've been considering.
I heard you can buy a villa there for pretty cheap.
I can give you a lot of tips about that.
Yeah, that's what my wife says. She wants to buy one of those villas that you buy and renovate. You sign the contract to renovate it, and then you live there.
Yeah.
So It's not a bad idea. Italy's beautiful.
That's a gorgeous idea. I mean, village they're being turned into vacation resorts nowadays, because people are into agritourism more and more every day. So they want to be in contact with nature and, the outdoors. So they do very well there.
Cool.
At least somebody's saving the poor village.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've often wondered about that. That's one of the things that was on my wife and I looked at too, very briefly. We decided against it. Just the logistics was just impossible for us.
Yeah. Portland's much nicer.
Oh yeah. Did you say Florida?
No, I said Portland.
Oh, Portland. Yeah. Nicer.
Right. Yeah, I know.
Well, the other thing on my list is to become a Scottish lord and buy a plot of land in Scotland. So there's that.
Stay there for 1 second. Well, no, you're going to go anywhere. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
And Helen, you're where are you based?
You're still muted.
Still muted. Oh, goodness me.
Peterborough in Cambridgeshire in the UK.
Okay.
So that's probably why things are a little bit different for me as well. But I was going to say something. No.
And I see you've often with several guest authors or prolific authors. I feel kind of, almost what am I doing here?
But you've probably got lots of stuff that you can, that you're working on in the background, because I mean, everybody's got loads and loads of novels scattered around on their computer. And I mean, I've got 2 books lined up once I finish working on these 2 books and publish them.
Great.
So, but I think that is a good way to work, because otherwise, it takes me quite a few years to put a novel out. So from my point of view, that's a good way to work, because then while you are resting from one set of novels or novel or whatever, you can then go off and do something else. And by the time you finish doing that, you can come back to it and you're ready to edit it and work on it again, and you bring something fresh to it.
That's right.
So real quick, Chuck, here's my wife's title. She's a lady because she owns land in Scotland.
Oh, nice.
Oh, you wanted to be a lord?
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Yes.
My sister-in-law, Mike's sister, is married to a Scottish laird.
Nice.
Oh, wow. Nice. Okay.
But his family live in Argentina for some reason or other.
Well, yeah, we live here, but my wife's family are the Forbes family from Scotland. So they're relations, and their family has a castle and everything over there in Scotland.
Right.
And I'm like, why do we live in Seattle?
Okay, so I have a new plan on my retirement.
In Scotland.
See how much inspiration you could get to start a romance novel, maybe, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what a great place to write that would be.
Right.
Yeah, chilly though.
Chilly and drafty, yeah.
I think what I would write would be like a gothic horror romance novel, like Crimson Peak or something. Right?
I was thinking more in terms of like Downton Abbey.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So Helen actually also has the I'm gonna mess it up because I'm drawing a blank right now. Every month, what's the group that you do?
Well, the group is the Finger on the Pulse on Facebook, right. And I do Fiction Fix Online, which is another podcast, and the idea is to get a whole bunch of different authors each time together. You can always come back, but get different people together and see what happens, and mix up the genres, and everybody gets a 10-minute slot to read an extract from whatever they're working on. or whatever they want to read from.
Nice.
Nice.
But it has to be their own work.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I try to plug that whenever I do for these emails, because now that you're here, Josephine, if you don't mind, I've added you to our author list of our alumni, I guess, Meet the Authors alumni.
Thank you. That's an honor.
Yeah, so you can definitely reach out. Everybody that's on that email list has included their names in the bucket. You can reach out to anybody on that list if you have questions about it.
I watched all your previous podcasts, and everything was so interesting to hear. Very nice.
Yeah, it's really good event, isn't it?
Thanks.
I would like coming to this.
Yeah, the one thing that I've noticed in like the kind of like authorship community is how much everybody's like so helpful to each other, you know?
Yeah.
It's a little like, I'm a musician, and it's a little different over there because there's not it's too much competition, right? Nobody wants to really help each other that much. So it's like a 180 to this authorship thing, right?
Don't know really. I think musicians probably help each other as well. I've seen quite a bit of that.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah, I was.
I mean, I think it just depends who you end up knocking around with, as it were. You know.
Yeah, there's like the problem in the music community is like gatekeeping, basically. If you're not.
Oh my God! But don't you get that in actual, traditional publishers?
Oh, probably. Traditional publishing, sure.
Traditional, but this group is good.
Not indie. Indie is cool.
Right.
Yeah, indie group is cool.
There you go.
They've gone through the same pain and toil, and so it's good to talk about it.
Yeah.
It helps me to vent, I can tell you that. There's also just for you and for whoever else might be out there in podcast land, we have the author event network that Guy Morris is putting together. He's
that's a really good idea. I mean, obviously, it's not going to help me because I'm sort of across the pond.
Yeah, I can help you, but we're starting it on the West Coast. But his goal is to spread out to the East Coast, maybe in the next couple of years, and then who knows if it works? If the model works, then it can work anywhere. So
who knows where it can go?
Who knows exactly? So that's kind of cool. The way that works is if you join one of their groups, then they'll split the fee for entry into local events. So when we get to the East Coast, for example, if there's a New York book show or something, then those booths can get really expensive, especially if you're in the city. So by splitting the cost among different authors, a variety of authors, then it's cheaper and it actually is affordable for authors to attend some of these events that they otherwise couldn't get into. So. But
I had a really nice thing happen the other day, or about 4 weeks ago. I went to an open mic night because I go out to open mic nights. I just love reading aloud, And so I went to this open mic night, and it was one that I hadn't been to before. And I went in, and I'd rung up and spoken to the manager of this place before. It's actually an American diner in Market Deeping, which is pretty near to where I live, about 15 miles away, probably not even that. But basically, I went over there. I got up and read. I did poetry actually that particular night, and I did all the funny ones, so that went down pretty well. Anyway, as I was going out, the manager said to me, "Would you be interested in doing like a book signing here?" And I said, I would love to do a book signing here. I hadn't heard any of my stuff, so other than the poetry. So hopefully I might be doing a book signing there. And I said to her, well, what would be really good would be if we could get several authors together and in here, because it's quite a big space in this room, and have, several of them and then get them up to read during the event for a few minutes. And she said, oh yeah, that sounds really great.
Nice, good. Congratulations. Nobody's so far that hasn't happened to me. So awesome.
You can sign my copy of your book.
You definitely need to suggest it, Chuck.
Just walk into a bookstore.
I managed to get my foot in the door of the local Barnes and Noble just by actually going in there and asking if they would shelf some.
I'm going to be doing that now that we're able to go out. Yeah, definitely. Anything. And because the thing is, you don't ask if you don't get. No, you don't get if you don't ask, I mean. But you know what I mean.
You got it.
You know, just go out there. The worst they can say is no.
Exactly.
So, I mean, why not ask?
Yeah. It doesn't hurt to ask.
That's inspirational. Yep. I'm going to do it.
And if you don't ask, like you said, nothing will ever happen unless you go out there and look for it.
Yeah.